Well, I got an interesting email from one of y'all about how Pokemon Legends ZA could be more directly related to X and Y than just being in Kalos, in the sense that it is actually, and this is gonna sound stupid at first, a sequel to Pokemon X and Y. Now, before we explore this, of course, what a sequel means is that it takes place after Pokemon X and Y, and you know, there's no shot Legends ZA takes place after X and Y. We already have a time period for it. I'm never saying it again, all right? Takes place like around 200 years ago. So how could we say it's a sequel to X and Y? See, now I got your attention. The final theory for what ZA really is. So first off, they say how after a game comes out, if you look at the trailers that led up to its release, sometimes they have these visual hints that make more sense in hindsight once the game comes out. And so, he's gonna try to reverse engineer it from our empty Legends ZA trailer. To start off, everything we see on the ZA trailer is kind of a future foreshadowing. So why can't we play a little bit with that in mind? You want thin ice here, buddy. Just calm down, bro. So, face what's in this email like he's a person that played the game and is telling its secrets. He's from the future. Get that in your mind. What other option do you have? At this point, we resort to role-playing. The way I look at the game is being like X and Y's true post-game. Okay, pretend you didn't say that. Pretend it says X and Y's sequel. So remember in the previous video how I talked about how cool it would be if there's an opening cutscene before you see the Legends ZA logo. The same way, like in Pokemon Sun and Moon, you saw that little opening with Lily running away, then it shows Pokemon Sun or Moon. An opening cutscene that would take place before you get sent to the past to show how your life was before the incident and how the world was before the incident, assuming this game has the same time travel aspect, which I know none of us like, but that's the gist. That would be how it's X and Y's sequel. But let's hear from him. You start the game on a train ride. Your friends and you have been invited to come to Lumiose by Sycamore that is working on a new company that wants to modernize the city, bring more nature and Pokemon to it. Okay, so I'm actually kind of reading this for the first time too, so this is giving me ideas. How interesting would it be if before you get somehow sent back in time that the goal Sycamore and all have is redeveloping the city the exact same way it is when you're sent to the past. So when they say the Lumiose redevelopment plan, it's not just the Paris renovation, it's also another renovation that would take place in our modern day, 2025 or whatever, that doesn't have a real life counterpart, but that's the time period we come from. The company, the trailer symbol that looks like the ultimate weapon shooting up, wants to first build the new segments of Lumiose into a digital environment, like a VR serving as its blueprints. Now I see what you're getting at. That is really freaking cool. Okay, so in the same way, in the past, you would have a pre-Lumiose where it does not look like how it does today, and they have plans written on hard paper of how they want to build Prism Tower and make it the circular city and all. In the same way, instead of saying Sycamore, this company and all are gonna break down Lumiose or renovate it to look even more grand, it's gonna look the exact same, but they're just gonna turn it into something digitalized for some other plans. And so what this actually creates is both sides, both visions of Lumiose looking the exact same, to where it can reflect what's shown in the trailer, the hard documents showing Lumiose and the wireframe showing Lumiose. I know, we're crazy. Okay, just breathe in. I always get the image that while we're all speculating here that they're not actually working on the games there, they're sleeping. They're just napping. So, you know, we're doing all the speculating, but the book that we're hoping to read one day, it hasn't even been written yet. I think that's what you're putting down. That would be a real cool idea. They're using an evolution of the Holocaster that are very similar on appearance to Team Flare's glasses used by admins and Lysander. Oh my God, so everyone would just be wearing Google glasses in the future, in the modern time. It is the Holo Visor. You and your friends will be gifted with this item as a part of software testing phase. So rather than this game being past and future like was commonly speculated back then, it would be past and present. It doesn't have to go as far as the future, which makes it actively an X and Y sequel. That's just telling you events that happened back then, but it starts off taking place after X and Y. Maybe even these friends and all would be our group of 4 friends. Let us, you know what should happen? Let Tierno get sent to the past. That's what we're playing as. Now, their email goes on for a bit, and unfortunately, I don't want to read it. I'm so freaking sorry, bro. The reason I want to read is because it's getting into us actually playing in the modern Kalos, where there's digital glasses and you'll see digital Pokemon in your room and all. I think that starts to make it break apart a bit because we could kind of sense it's not something Pokemon would do until they show us they want to be creative. So something that makes more sense to me is that we only really play like 20 minutes in the modern Lumiose, and then the entire rest of the game takes place in the past. Should I read it anyway? Okay. I'm going to give you the cliff notes. The real Lumiose has a system of side quests led by Zarostic, who's a good person now. Holy frick, you know, I read this and I know it's so far out there, but you look at the rest of the games in existence. You know, I just played God of War, and to see characters pop up all grown up, a few years time skipped, is actually par. It's actually normal for games. It's weird when it just keeps resetting. Not like in Final Fantasy, where each game is like in its own universe, but in Pokemon, it's already established that each game takes place after the other. They're just too lazy to put in the work to actually show characters from previous games properly. Not this little Easter egg where Dexio and Xeno pop up and do nothing. Or like Red popped up and does nothing. When I read this, it's actually the way things are supposed to be. But yeah, they have some fun ideas here, like the Holo Lumiose. So exactly. So you're wearing your headset. You're looking around and you'd be seeing digital Pokemon, which would be a whole other variant. Now, I don't think this game needs to go that far, unless there's a way to take Pokemon that are from the digital world and make them kind of actual Pokemon as well. It becomes territory Pokemon doesn't want to get to. But there's some cool ideas here. They're saying, think of like 2 save files in one map. So this would be like Link to the Past, going back and forth to traverse the territory, except here, I imagine with digital glasses, you'd only be able to like see secret crap on the walls and maybe find passageways to find hidden megastones and crap. They talk about hologram Pokeballs, holo variants, and holo evolutions. Okay, so this email turned out completely different than what I thought when I was opening in this video. They're not talking about us going to the past at all. They're talking about ZA quite literally being a sequel. People in the game refer a lot about a wandering man in a flowette. Clement and his sister aren't home. It is said they're in a far region trying to solve a possible 1,000-year blackout. Danta's worried about Sycamore's lack of life purpose. What the frick? It is revealed over time that this new company is trying to revive Team Flare somehow. So basically, it's like the Johto games, where it's former Team Flare members trying, with no leader, I would imagine, just trying to finish Lysander's purpose. The corporation the entire time was made up of Team Flare ex-members. What, no one did a background check? They just found out everyone who works there is Team Flare. One of the corporation's leader is secretly Professor Sycamore. Leave the man alone. The frick, Diantha? So just going to the bottom, yeah, there's no mention of actually traveling to the past. You got to take a step back and realize this game is called Pokemon Legends ZA, and I know we only have one game to go off, but the point would generally be to show some kind of prequel game that just explains more about Kalos and its legendaries and myths more. If we want to incorporate this idea, it's either just 20 minutes in the modern day and then the rest of the game in the past after that, or if Pokemon, since they took the break here and they're really excited to show this product, if somehow you're flashing back and forth between the past and the present and seeing the overlap, the history repeating itself, the same issues and evil team that might transpire back then when Paris is being renovated, I mean, Lumiose, the same kind of evil team rises in the modern day, maybe linking back to them, kind of doing the exact same things as well. So you would play as a character in the past and a character in the present, back and forth. So each time, let's say you quell a noble Pokemon, it would then take you to the present. Now, the other reason this is very hard to do is because Pokemon is very basic in that they just want you to catch Pokemon and have a team. So it's going to get confusing when you have a team in the past and then you're playing as a different character in the present. And it's going to get way too complicated if you're actually the same character going back and forth. So it brings us back to the first idea, which is 20 minutes in the present, then you're sent to the past for the rest of the game. What do you think, Masada? What's in your empty book? Well, that's your cue. Now get out of my video. I'll come back in a few days, find something else interesting to talk about. With respect, get out.